Hey guys, Marcus Melnick here with Firearm Mentor. Hope you're enjoying my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. These little things are free to you and really help the channel. I appreciate your support. Enjoy. Thank you.
The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters. Greetings and welcome back to the Personal Safety Show. This is Marcus Melnick with Stress to Logic and Firearm Mentor, your host. And we are continuing the conversation with Rick Rosenfeld about traveling internationally and staying safe. And we ended the last segment on a question, which we will replay, and you'll be able to hear it right now. Hang on. What does an American citizen do if they individually run into trouble with the law in another country?
Yeah, so I think part of it is, how did you book your trip? So if you've booked everything online and you've basically like, okay, I've got this hotel and we're just going to get A to B on trains and things like that, the local embassy is probably going to be your best place to go and your only place to go. If you have worked through a travel agent, that is another place that you can reach out to. Now, depending on the situation, the advice would still be contact the embassy, but the travel agent, if they're a good travel agent, will be, let me see what else I can do using the resources that I have, or let me get information to you. And the third piece is, if your local travel agent didn't just book hotels and transportation and tours for you, but if they worked through an area tour operator on the ground, the travel agent can then work with that partner who is on the ground in that country, who knows the ins and outs, probably has some contacts in the government to help you. So, for example, I'm trying to think of a real example where I actually used my partner on the ground. I think the best example that I have is my partner in Japan. So I did have two groups in Japan during the earthquake, tsunami, Fukushima nuclear scare. That was way back in 2011. And one group was headed out the next day. They were in Tokyo. They went to the airport, flew out. They were fine. But I did have a group from Yale University that had just arrived. And that morning, that was their first full day in Japan, they had a morning meeting at one of the car manufacturers that was about a 2-hour drive northeast of Tokyo. And that is the direction where the tsunami hit. They weren't anywhere near the tsunami zone, but when the earthquake hit and then the tsunami happened, obviously everyone was fleeing that area. So what was a 2-hour drive to get to this business meeting in the morning turned out to be a 9.5-hour drive to get back to Tokyo due to traffic and trying to find gas and things like that. One of the bridges that they had driven over on the way over was no longer there, so that was pretty much of a nightmare. But I immediately, and a colleague of mine, we basically spent 48, 72 straight hours taking shifts of 16 hours on and 8 hours off, or not even 8 hours off, but we would rotate so we could both get some sleep. But we were working hand in hand with our Japanese partner who's in Tokyo, who put her family's needs aside because she had clients in the country and had to support them. So we worked on an evacuation plan. So it's always challenging when you've got these big name schools where students, especially at the MBA level, know a lot of people. And one of the students who was in the group said, I have a friend at State Department saying, don't trust what the Japanese government is telling you about Fukushima, which had ended the whole program in a second. There was no further discussion of, are we going to try to continue? So we worked to evacuate them further away from the zone to Osaka, and then we actually took them out of the country to Korea, and then ultimately back to the United States. So I had to work with my partners in Japan and Korea on that. Now, that's a group situation. That's not an individual situation where somebody ends up in jail. I do have some stories that I can share with you over a beer, but not appropriate for this forum.
Okay, very good, very good. At our last chamber meeting, it might have been 2 meetings ago, when you gave your elevator pitch, you talked about the importance of travel insurance. And I typically get travel insurance. I have used it, actually, once. I lost my wedding ring, but that was with my first wife.
That was a joke. But insurance covered the replacement cost, and on that same trip, I got very, very ill. I had bronchitis, I had pink eye, all at the same time. It was horrible. And I was able to go to the infirmary and pay nothing. So can you touch on, or even deep dive, what is travel insurance? Why do people need it? And why is it a good idea?
Right, so I'm going to start with the kicker. The bottom line is, in my view, people should not leave the United States to travel internationally without travel insurance, at least on the medical side. Okay, so that's the bottom line, and that's where I'm getting to. Now, the overview of travel insurance is, a lot of people think of it as, oh, I'm protecting my investment in case I cancel. But maybe I'm booking hotels that I can cancel with 24 or 48 hours notice, and I'm booking some tours that I can cancel with 24-hour notice, just like through TripAdvisor or something like that. So I don't really need the travel insurance. Yes, you can protect cancellation, which may be important for a cruise or a big dollar item. Yes, you can protect that. But the main part that I want to make sure that everyone has when they travel is the part that covers things that can get very, very expensive. Medical. That's the first piece. So most people do not realize that virtually no U.S. health insurance will cover you internationally. That includes regular health insurance, that includes Medicare health insurance. They do not provide coverage overseas. There are some Medicare supplements that do, but it's not the majority. So when you travel international, if you have to go to the hospital for a broken arm, yes, almost any other country, the cost of that is going to be less than it would be in the United States, but you're still going to be responsible and out of pocket for that. But what happens if you get in a traffic accident and have to be hospitalized for 2 weeks? What happens if you have a heart attack or a stroke overseas and have to be hospitalized for a period of time with a greater period of care? If you're not insured, you do not have any protection in terms of getting those costs covered or reimbursed. Sometimes you may have to pay out of pocket and then submit for reimbursement when you get back home. So that's the first piece. The second piece that people don't generally think about is the emergency medical evacuation. What happens if I get sick and the country that I'm in does not have the level of care that is needed, or I'm in a remote part of a country that does not have anything more than a local clinic and I have to get to the capital city, which is 8 hours by road or something by air, but I can't travel on a regular flight. The emergency medical evacuation, whether it takes you domestically within that country or internationally to the next larger city that can handle you, or sometimes even back to the United States, that's an important factor. And that can be $10, $20, $30,000 depending on where you are and what sort of evacuation you need. And then there's the, God forbid, the repatriation of remains. What happens if someone dies overseas? And almost everyone that I talk to, maybe not almost everyone, but a lot of people I talk to when I talk about that, it's like, oh yeah, I had a friend from college whose father died scuba diving, or I had a friend in college whose person had a heart attack in Italy and died. And insurance will cover not only the cost of bringing the body back to the United States, to the home where the funeral is going to take place, but provides the logistics for doing it. And unfortunately, in my career, I've had 2 repatriations that I've had to manage. In both cases, insurance was purchased. And I can't even imagine where we would have begun in terms of the process of helping to manage a repatriation if they didn't have insurance and the insurance company didn't have the people to assist with that. So those 3 things, the medical, the emergency medical evac, and the repatriation of remains, are included in every policy. Even the ones that provide cancellation include coverage for that. Those actually are the least expensive parts of the insurance policy. They, especially for younger folks, hardly cost anything. My nephew, who is 23 years old, he travels to Europe for fun a couple times a year. He'll go for a week here to Amsterdam, and he'll go to a week to Zurich, and he takes these 1-week trips, and he's like, Uncle Rick, can you help me with insurance? And because of his age, the coverage that will provide them with $500,000 of medical, $500,000 of emergency evac, and $50,000 of repatriation costs him $20 every time he leaves. Now, the older you get, the higher that price goes, and sometimes you get to a point age-wise where I can't cover you at $500,000. I'm going to cover you at $100,000 or $50,000 for the medical. That's a good amount. Yeah, the price tag is going to go up, but it is a very important investment to make sure that you're prepared for the worst.
Well, to dovetail on that, I'll share two stories. First of all, when COVID hit and I had to travel a little bit, I was like, "There's darn sure I'm going to get insurance, because once you have COVID, if you're actively have the infection, they're not going to be traveling." And
right.
I'm a germaphobe, so when I'm sick, I cancel my plans. When other people are sick, I ask them to as well. And then there was a second thing I was going to say. It was about insurance, and I forgot. All right, we might come back to it. I don't know.
Yeah, I can fill that gap just briefly. I know you're talking about with COVID. At that point, pretty much every policy I was selling was not only just cancellation, but there was also a rider that was canceled for any reason. And that would basically fully protect people on the cancellation side if they had to cancel a trip due to COVID. Or maybe they didn't have COVID, but maybe there was a resurgence in the place that they were traveling to. I actually had that happen a couple of times with travelers, and the cancel for any reason insurance provided coverage for that.
I do remember what I was going to say. When my mom's been gone for 20 plus years, but when she was alive, near the end of her life, she booked a flight, non-refundable, to Florida to visit with her companion's children, and she had breast cancer, but the tumor was in her digestive tract, and right a couple days before the trip, she said, "I can't go." She was hospitalized pretty majorly. She was septic, and they did some sort of procedure where they drop the camera down your throat and they check out. So what happened was the tickets were non-refundable. My mom's companion basically shrugged and said, "Oh, well," and I was like, "Give me a copy of your tickets. I'll take care of it. You'll get a refund." "Well, no, it's not refundable." I go, "Trust me, I'll take care of it." I got a hold of the medical records with the photos of the tumor from the inside of the body. I sent it to the airline. They refunded the money.
Very good.
So it was
the airline industry has changed in a lot of ways. It's more consistent. Like virtually every airline will refund money if the traveler passes away. They will refund money back to the estate. And in terms of medical stuff, that's still hit or miss in terms of the airline, in terms of what they do. But now U.S. carriers, if you book United, Delta, if you book through United, Delta, or American, and even if you're booking in one of their partners, if you book it through the U.S. carrier's website, you can still at least get a credit for future travel, which if someone's terminal, that's not going to help. But yeah, the airlines have gotten a little bit easier to work with, I feel, on these things.
Rick, you are just an awesome resource. What final thoughts can you offer about traveling, and maybe address something that I did not ask you? The floor is yours.
Well, I am surprised that this topic didn't come up, but given your background in firearms and firearm health and safety, I do want to talk a little bit about guns and things like that. Great. So you know that every year people are getting arrested for inadvertently leaving guns in their carry-on luggage or not declaring them in their checked luggage even when they're traveling domestically. Right. When you're traveling internationally, it becomes a much bigger deal. So obviously, and a lot of people with open carry or concealed carry are very comfortable just leaving the firearm in their briefcase, laptop case, anything like that, and just forget, because it's such a normal occurrence for them to be carrying it around all the time. When you go to the airport, before you go to the airport, always take that mental note. I've got to remove anything that is any guns or bullets before I am traveling, or else you're going to be inviting a nightmare. I do want to talk about an interesting thing in terms of bringing home souvenirs from overseas, because that is a thing. I know that a lot of people like collecting war remnants or memorabilia when they travel. In some places it's illegal. In some places it's really contradictory, because the economics of a location, I'm going to use Vietnam as an example, if you are local Vietnamese, one of the ways you can make money is there are used bullets from the war everywhere and readily available, and you can sell them to tourists, and you can make money from that. The flip side is the Vietnam government doesn't allow you to export those. So you may have bought these from somebody on the street thinking it's a great souvenir and I want to take this home and add to a collection of some sort, or share with friends, bring it home for a friend or something like that. And if you're caught leaving Vietnam with that, you will be arrested and fined. On the flip side, we talked about, again, the guns itself. Turks and Caicos has, in the Caribbean, went through a spree last year where they were arresting American tourists who had bullets in their carry-on. So they didn't have guns, but they had bullets. There was a guy who was facing a 9 to 12-year prison sentence, ultimately released, because Turks and Caicos does not allow the bringing in of anything that is gun or bullet related. So this is not an area that I specialize in. Most of my clients, this is just not something that would occur to them. But I think for your audience, Marcus, it's just wise to just make sure you do that double check on the way out, that you're not carrying anything that you can get in trouble for. And then when you are overseas and you're thinking about buying something to bring back that is weapon related, that you check out the rules of the country that you're in terms of what you can really take out, because can be very specific, not just with guns, but also things like swords and things along those lines. So just be very cautious and check things out before you purchase.
Interesting. In my concealed carry class, I do cover traveling with firearms, and you're absolutely right. Nothing can be in the carry-on, not even a spent shell casing, because the joke in law enforcement is the feds don't have a good sense of humor. And I do know someone who inadvertently forgot to empty his bag. He actually did empty it. He missed a pocket. It had a gun in it, and he got arrested. Absolutely, there are rules for traveling domestically, and if anyone wants to reach out to me for those rules, my electronic business card is Marcus Melnick, MarcusMelnick.com. I'm happy to give you the lay of the land. And typically, generally, traveling internationally, like leaving the United States with a firearm, is a huge no-no. They ask you I've been through the Canadian border on a vehicle or like a bus. They ask you, do you have any weapons? So there are people out there who like to go hunting in Canada. They can bring their guns, but they really need to go to the Canadian government, get whatever permissions they need to get. I'm not that familiar with I'm not a hunter. I'm more of a safety guy or risk management guy, kind of like you, Rick. But you really need to do your homework even ahead of time. If you want to bring home a war souvenir, bring home a hat. bring home a medal. You don't need weapons. And if you really do want to get war-related weapons, there are a ton of resources in the United States where you can actually pick those up. Rick, this has been an absolute delight to have you on the show. I greatly, greatly appreciate your expertise, and I look forward to seeing you at the next event.
You got it. It's good to be with you, and I hope this provides some guidance and help for your audience.
Absolutely. Appreciate your time, Rick. Thank you.
Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, that website for the State Department, to look it up, at least for the United States State Department, is travel.state.gov. They have 4 levels of warning. Number 1, exercise normal precautions. Number 2, increased caution. Number 3, reconsider your travel. And number 4, do not travel. And I'm just going to give you the list of the do not travels. And the risk indicators are things like crime, terrorism, unrest, health, natural disasters, time-limited events, like a huge sporting event, kidnapping or hostage taking, wrongful detention, and then there's an other. So the level 4s, meaning don't travel, are Haiti, Lebanon, Iraq, Somalia, Venezuela, Burma or Myanmar, Russia, North Korea, Burkina, Yemen, Iran, South Sudan, Syria, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Afghanistan, Central African Republic Travel Advisory, Belarus because they're involved in the war, Ukraine, Libya, Mali, and Sudan. And then it goes down to level 3. I'm not going to read them to everyone, but 2 of them, Mexico and Israel, are listed as others. So just to talk about Mexico, there's areas that are fine, like Cozumel, and then there's areas that are gang-related or gang-infested. So when we talk about Israel, it's only parts of the country that are not recommended to travel to. And these areas are Gaza, due to terrorism and armed conflict, and within 11.3 kilometers or 7 miles of the Gaza periphery, northern Israel within 4 kilometers or 2.5 miles of the Lebanese and Syrian borders due to continued military presence and activity, and the Egyptian border within 2.4 kilometers or 1.5 miles, except for the Taba crossing, which is open. So there's areas of Israel that are safer than others. There's areas of Israel that are not as safe. With that, I'd like to segue into a friend of mine, Benjamin Ferdinand, and Ben is actually an FFL in the Chicago area, but he has a not-for-profit that helps the Israeli military. It's called the Protect Israel Fund, and I'm going to try to get him on the show, but there is a fundraiser and silent auction night. It's hosted by the Chicago Jewish Alliance and Protect Israel Fund. The announcement says, join us for a powerful, emotional, and inspiring event as we come together to support the brave communities along Israel's Gaza border, those who faced unimaginable horrors on October 7th, 2023, and are now rebuilding their lives with courage and resilience. This special afternoon will feature moving stories, survivor testimonies, and a silent auction, giving the guests the opportunity to make an impact directly while bidding on meaningful items and experiences. There are several presenters. One of them is my friend Ben Ferdinand. He is the heart and vision behind Protect Israel Fund, which is a 501c3, providing life-saving equipment to at-risk communities, and he'll share the compelling story of how the fund was born, the real-world impact that it's having today, and why its work is more urgent than ever. Amit Moussay is a tour guide and survivor of the Nova Music Festival massacre. Orit and Maor are survivors and community leaders. And the donations and the money raised are going to directly support the following. First of all, an advanced security drone system goal of $10,000 for phase 1 and $195,000, which is a 2-year total. This state-of-the-art drone project is designed to give Kfar Aza and other vulnerable communities a game-changing advantage in the early warning and response. These defensive drones provide early warning, thermal imaging, and patrol capabilities even in poor conditions. Beyond security, the drones will also assist with search and rescue, emergency response, and critical infrastructure monitoring. Israeli security officials have called this program transformational. Donors may be invited to Israel for drone dedication ceremonies. Other goal or need is $9,000 for ballistic body armor replacements. One of our partner kibbutzim near Gaza urgently needs new ballistic vest carriers for its volunteer defense team because of gear damage during the October 7th attack and is now unusable. We've identified exactly what's needed and are committed to restoring safety before the next threat strikes. Every dollar goes towards restoring safety and readiness for civilians protecting their homes and families. You can go to chicagojewishalliance.org for more information, but it's going to be July 27th from 3 to 5 p.m. in Highland Park, Illinois, and tickets are $36. This is a tremendous, worthwhile event. It's a great fundraiser, and you're actually helping save lives. So I've talked to Ben. He and I are buds. He actually is, one of his stories is in one of my books, Overcoming the Hot Stress Mess. And he talks about how when he got engaged, he doesn't have a very good memory of it because it was such an positive positive emotional event. So, that being said, I hope everyone's doing well. We have a Sunday-only class starting next weekend, starting on July 27th. If you would like information on that, please reach out to me via my electronic business card at marcusmelnick.com. That is marcusmelnick.com. I hope everyone has a wonderful, well, you know something, before we close, let me just give you guys one more piece of information. And it was kind of funny because this came from Rick Rosenthal. Right after we were talking, he sent me an AP News article that says photos of the giant rats leading landmine detection efforts in Cambodia. Rats may send some squealing, but in Cambodia, teams of the not-so-little critters have become indispensable in helping specialists detect landmines that have killed and maimed thousands in the Southeast Asian country. The African giant pouched rats, which can grow up to 18 inches and weigh more than 3 pounds, are on the front line, making their way across fields to signal to their handlers when they get a whiff of TNT, used in most landmines and explosive ordnance. While working with these rats, I've always found mines, and they've never skipped a single one, said Mat Sremam, a rat handler at Apapo, a humanitarian group that trains and deploys rodent detection systems throughout the world. And Cambodia would be one of those places where you got to exercise a little bit more caution because at one point it was war-torn, and there are buried landmines, so we obviously don't want anyone to get hurt. While you're stateside, I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and everyone should stay safe. Remember, if you ever have any questions on firearms, we're actually creating a firearm pistol buying guide that will help people based upon the purpose of the tool that they're purchasing. If you'd like one, reach out to us at firearmmentor.com/contact. That is our Contact Us page. Just when you put in the note, say, I'd like the buying guide, and I will email it to you. Meanwhile, stay tuned. Next week, we'll be back. Thank you. We have monthly concealed carry license, CCL classes, in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. Dates can be seen at firearmmentor.com/classes. If you have a question, we can be reached at www.firearmmentorcard.com. That is our electronic business card, has all of our contact information and links in it. It's the easiest way to get a hold of us. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I'll see you at the shooting range. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor signing off. The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.